Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bet you're here about Lego. Review those amazing bricks of plastic and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? Hopefully you're doing quite well. I am doing much better than what I was a matter of days ago. But we're here and we're talking about some stuff, some plastic brick stuff. But yes, we are here. And if you're not doing well, hopefully this next, 25, 30 minutes, whatever we end up at, will be enough for you to carry on through your day or morning or evening or whatever. Maybe you're working the night shift, the 0 dark 30 stuff. Ugh, man, I don't miss those days at all. But I respect those of you that work overnight, especially anybody that works overnight. And anyway, so we are talking about the Little Mermaid. We're talking about the Little Mermaid. I never, ever, once in my life, would have ever thought that I would talk about the Little Mermaid on a podcast. I never thought I would talk about the Little Mermaid outside of being 6. Like, it never crossed my mind of like, you know what I'm going to do in my late 30s? I'm going to talk about the Little Mermaid. And not just about the Little Mermaid, but as a toy, a Lego toy. Yeah. That was not in my yearbook, in my graduating year. That was definitely not a thing, but that's what we're doing today. Now, we're gonna come straight out, and I'm gonna tell you, I have not seen the live action Little Mermaid. I cannot do the live action stuff. You want to give me the animation stuff? Yes, I've seen all of them. I actually watched the Little Mermaid back in June, not too long before in Chicago in Brickworld. You know, it was like maybe the week before. I was like, oh yeah, you know, you just get in that weird headspace and you're like, you know what, I want to go watch this. I'm gonna go watch this. You want to go watch it? Yeah, let's go watch it. So anyway, this set, the Little Mermaid Royal Clamshell, that's its name. It has 1,800 pieces. That's the pieces. Its set number is 43225. It has 5 minifigs. And now some of the characters, and if you go to the animation version of it from 1989, the only reason I know that is because I have this weird thing for numbers in my head. Always have, ever since I was a kid. My wife jokes from time to time. She was like, well, that's the autistic part of your brain. I've never been diagnosed with autism, but she will also be the first person to tell you everybody's on it's a sliding scale. Everybody's on there somewhere. You may be way up here. You may be down here. You may be right here with the rest of us, but everybody's on there. And I'm a firm believer of it. And my thing with numbers and my memory with numbers, absolutely one of those things. I can tell you so many stupid, trivial things involving statistics and numbers. And when movies came out, and it's silly, but it's a talent, right? It's one of those things, you go to an event and you're like, what is a talent you have? I can tell you this. Why? I don't know. It's like the 3-year-old kid. Oh no, was it now 15 years ago? Kid's probably in college now that, was able to tell you every single country in the entire world. Just boom, like that. And at that point, nobody was like, oh, that's autism. No, everybody's like, that kid is awesome. Anyway, back to the build. What do we have in the build? Well, we have some minifigs, yes. You have your Sebastian. You have your Flounder. You have your King Triton, which he kind of looks kind of weird in here. And I'm not sure how I feel about this new idea of if you want to call it a quote unquote headpiece. But yeah, you have Ariel. You have Ursula, like I said. You also have Karina and Indira, I think is how you say that. But you have a vast group of people. Flounder, I hate what they did to Flounder. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a purist. I'm an original Give me the original every single day upside down and backwards. I don't like what they did with the coloring. He's a cute little fish. It's nice to be able to have. Sebastian, I thought honestly we were going to get some kind of crab versus just getting a Lego crab, but whatever. King Triton. So let's talk about the minifigs real quick, get them out of the way. King Triton does not have a regular minifig molded head. He has a minifig head, but his face and his crown and his hair, which are dual molded, go over top of the head, and it makes his face look super stupid weird. It just doesn't fit. And he does have his Triton, of course. He's got his little tats that are on the side. They're not tattoos. They're, the garments that he is wearing over his shoulders. It's, I don't know. He reminds me of some kind of creature that should be like from one of the Men in Black movies. His face it feels off, and I appreciate them trying. It just feels off. So he has the green mermaid tail, this new tail piece, and he's got some printing on there as well. I guess we can talk about Ariel. Ariel is in the darker skin because they changed her skin tone for the live action movie. She has her red hair, but it's a little bit different here. It's a darker red hair. Okay. She's got two faces. She has what is supposed to be like a singing face and just a smiling face. And then she has a teal colored tail with a purple end to it with some printing that is on here. Indira, she is your yellow-bodied mermaid. She is a dark skin tone as well. I like her hairpiece here. It's really nice. Some printing on here as well. Same exact piece for all three of the mermaids. Triton has his own. Anyway, and then you have your last one, Karina, who has this kind of like a light purplish color, long ponytail hair. And then she has the dark blue body with some printing on it, body, tail, whatever you want to call it. And then you have Ursula. And Ursula, I swear, and I don't get everything with collectible minifigs. It's not one of those things that I go and I intentionally buy every single time, but I swear we've had a bottom piece like this for her in the past. Anyway, so you have her here. It has her bigger belly because she's a bigger figured gal. And then her all her tentacles that are sticking out here. Her white hair piece. She has a few different faces here. She's got her evil kind of creepy smile face, and then her standard creepy smile face as well. So you do have that. So those are your minifigs. Those are your creatures and stuff like that. My interest behind the minifigs was what do you do with them? Do you pose them? How do you pose them? In what way do you pose them? There's all kinds of different ways you could pose them. Because we have some clear pieces that are sticking out here, clear bars with some studs that you can attach them to make it look like they're kind of floating or moving through the water to a certain degree, which is nice. I appreciate the thought of that. So what about the build? The build is it's simplistic in its look. It's a little bit more difficult, I guess you could say, in its build and its construction. The bottom of this thing, the clamshell, is obviously your base. It's super thick. It's bulky and stuff like that. You build it in different sections, side section, center section, the other side section. And then you just pepper things in as you go, as you get into details and stuff like that. The majority of your pieces are honestly just building up a giant framed structure on the inside, really, so that it can support the tiers that are here towards the center. And then your peacocking type feathers in the back, which that's what it reminded me of. It reminded me of the NBC mascot versus, just a clamshell because it's so large. It's not rounded. It's completely flat, which is unfortunate. However, so what do we have? We have a bunch of different things. So we have a little pirate ship. Carcass, whatever you want to call it here, the ribs of a ship that is sunk. We have a mast here as well. We're looking on the left. You have a sextant here. You have some binoculars. You have some kind of, you have a brush. You have a teapot. Just little things like something that looks like a compact, like a makeup compact. And then That's on the side of the quote unquote reef, whatever you want to call it there. In just to the rear of the little shipwreck area. We have the little fork, if you know anything of. Why did we not get the bird? I can't remember his name right now. Why did we not get the seagull? Why did we not get a seagull? I don't care that he or she or whatever may not have been in the movie. I don't know. But why? Come on. Throw a little hint of nostalgia. And if it wasn't in the movie, it's a travesty. And Dingle, I think it's like a dingle hopper or something. I can't remember what he called it. It was so funny. So then you have Flounder here who's floating. A lot of these trans pieces to make things look like they're moving and swimming and stuff like that. So you do have that there. You have a sword that is clipped into place. You have different colored leaves, different colored pinks and lighter purples and stuff, and little flowers in different colors. We have a coral element here that we have growing on. Some underwater seagrasses that are growing as well. And of course, we have Sebastian, who's just chilling here, hanging out in the clam. But you do get a number of different fish. You get some of the lighter color, like springy yellow-green colored fish. You get some orange fish. You get some magenta fish, and they're swimming about, sticking out on those poles at certain angles and stuff like that. Pretty much repetitive, honestly, at this point. There surely could have been something differently done or done differently to make it more appealing, but whatever. Anyway, so as you move kind of away from where Ursula, Ariel's area is, you move the other half and you are more Ursula. It gets darker. There's nothing. There's this dark bluish gray along with the white and the darker tan type colored and stuff like that. This is her little cave, her little dealio, and she's got her shelves with all the voices that are trapped inside of here and stuff. And then she has this rock piece that is just outside of the mouth of her cave. There's an upside down red, trans red minifig head on it. I cannot remember what that was for, but part of the plot, part of the movie, that kind of thing. I like the contrast between the light and airy and then the dark and sinister kind of idea as you move across it. You've got this rocky outcropping, whereas on Ariel's side, everything is smooth and transition nicely. So that's kind of cool. As you move up to the next level, well, pretty much the only next level that we have, you essentially have a few different spots to sit minifigs. There are brick-built chairs, which they do not sit because their tails do not bend, so they stand. But you have 2 for mermaids, and then you have 1 for King Triton. King Triton's is much bigger, obviously, under this big old arch and stuff like that. But the chairs, they do move because they are clipped into place, so you do have an option there to move those about and stuff. More leaf pieces, plant pieces, flower pieces, all that kind of stuff that dot this entire area just to add that color, add this idea of a movie, and it's friendly and it's safe and it's the protagonist, it's the good person, right? So you do have all of that. One of my favorite pieces that were used in here, and I don't recall seeing these before, is a certain type of slope here that is in a trans light. I guess it's not trans light blue. It's more of just a trans blue. But it's one of the taller kind of slope pieces. You usually see these in rocks and stuff like that. It's I think it's 2 bricks tall. And I do love this because it's essentially a 2 by 2 base. I really like these, the way that these are done. They're sloped on 2 sides and then straight down on 2 other sides. So you have a few of those here. Again, nice piece choice to be able to use here. It just adds a different element to it, and it's much appreciated. So you have your 2 chairs here for whoever. It could be Ariel, it could be one of the other 2, and then you have Triton's little chair that he's hanging out in. And again, all of the underwater type stuff that is going on. Now, to the left of his chair, you have a bar that's sticking out. And this is one of those that I said where you can put a minifig on and stuff like that. This only goes up and down. you cannot swivel it in and out. And then the one just to the top right of Ursula's cave is the same way. It can only go up and down. It cannot go in and out, which is unfortunate. You can adjust and move your mermaids and stuff like that around. You want to put Ursula on one, you could absolutely do that. It only has the one stud here. Not a good idea to, whoops, and I just popped that one off. Not a good idea to stick it through the hole on their bottom of their fins, tails, whatever. Doesn't really do a good job. The bar there to be able to do that. However, you could attach their hand because it's clippable with their hand, and maybe they're doing some kind of underwater gymnastics. That's kind of a fun idea. Anyway, so the back end of this thing is kind of wonky. Like I said, it is super duper flat. Once it gets put into position, it's locked into place. You don't have to worry. It's not going anywhere. It feels flimsy. The way that it is kind of tucked in there is unique in the build. I did enjoy that part, but it does look flimsy. Honestly, probably okay to have a little bit of give on the sides and stuff like that versus being too rigid and breaking, especially if you're going to move this thing about, because there are those tolerances that are built in there. But my only thing about it is, yes, it's rounded across the top to make it look like a clam, but it is so flat. I don't need it rounded on the back, but I need to have an idea that it is kind of maybe not closing, but I need to have an idea of how it should be rounded on the inside of the clamshell. Not on the outside, but on the inside. They did a pretty good job of that on the bottom clam part, but not the upper. And while it's okay, it is definitely something that could have been done to improve it. But again, maybe it's just being nitpicky or whatever, but $160. Yeah. I think it could have been done. And the reason I say that is the amount of giant pieces and parts that they use down here on the bottom is insane. I don't ever recall seeing a Lego set built up this heavily on the base. The weight of this thing, everything is on the base. Everything is on the base. And it's a very deep, thick built frame on the inside. This is not just something you move with one hand, partially because the back, but even then this is not something you just move with one hand. It is very, very, very thick. It's very deep. I mean, we're talking a few inches thick on the bottom clamshell. And that's not an issue, but the way things are structured. So what they have you do is to get the rounding of the clamshells. You build up these individual type modules to attach to a center frame, a more logistically friendly placed part attached on top of a frame over the plates. And that's how you get those rounded edges on the front. They don't completely come together, which kind of looks a little bizarre at first, but there's so much play here. And I'm just not a big fan of how that is done. I know you're not going to get 100% perfect and everything is going to line up and be amazing, awesome, wonderful. I don't like how it feels like there are gaps. And if you move a section one way or another, it's going to create a gap here. If you move the other section one way or another, it's going to create a gap here. I don't know what else could have been done. There's no other pieces that really could have been thrown in because it would have been too thick. But surely there had to have been an idea that could have been broached to adjust that. So I'm going to flip this baby back here. Hopefully she doesn't break on me. Some piece came off. But if you look down underneath, you have a whole bunch of different buildings techniques here. Believe it or not, there's not a whole lot of Technic frame assembly here. There's a lot of brick building. There's not near as much frame assembly going on, Technic frame assembly going on, which blew my mind originally. I was like, wait, this cannot even be a thing. There has to be Technic. There is Technic, but not anywhere near like anything of this. When I say of this size, you're talking about something that's 1,800 pieces, different levels and stuff like that. You would expect much more of a Technic presence than what is here. And there's honestly just really not, which again, like I said, it was a real big shock to me going through. And I was kind of taken aback by that. So you can lay it on its back, and I've got things moving around. You could probably hear it. I think it's the part of Ursula. But one of my favorite things is how the back end of this thing was done, the clam, not the rounding or the lack of roundage, the way that it was built and how it just slid into place and then locked into place. There is a Technic assembly back here, yes. But it's really only held on by a few pieces and then it can be removed. And if you're somebody that's looking to maybe store it after you're done, displaying it or building it or whatever, and you don't want to tear it completely apart, at least you can remove the top and store it along with the bottom without having to completely tear things apart, which is which I'm a fan of. Anytime that they give you an option like that, like I talked about with the Corvette, more recently, where you take off the top, you take off the windshield, and you stick it in the box, and there you go. There's your storage. It's done. Obviously, this is a little bit different. The box is much bigger. You could keep it in the box after you did that. I think, actually, no, now that I look at it, I don't think it would quite fit in like that. But still, my point being, I love the idea that you could remove it with minimal removing of pieces if you so chose. So here's where we get to it, right? We got to say what is great about it, what's bad about it. I already told you what I'm not a big fan of. I love the idea of the color behind this. I'm a big fan of the hits of nostalgia. Again, I haven't seen the new movie, will not see it. I cannot support the live action stuff. I tried with Aladdin. Aladdin is my favorite Disney animated movie, and it just sucked. I mean, it just sucked. And maybe it's, you're like, I wish they would have kept it closer to the animated version, and they didn't. And Will Smith singing in the way that he did, it just did not fit. Give me Robin Williams all day. So if I were going to give it a score out of 10, all right, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about the aesthetic. The aesthetic, I think it's very much eye-pleasing. I think I could give it probably about a 7. The upper section in the rear of the clamshell is going to be a bother for me forever. I cannot get over the flatness of it. It really messes with my eyes and the way that I look at it. Originally, I did not think that was going to be the case. But most definitely it is. And I get it on the backside, but there has to be some kind of, some kind of smoothing a little bit other than just making it flat in the back. On build techniques, build style, build creativity. Did I learn something new? I absolutely did. Every time I built a Lego set, I learned something new. I would give that probably an 8.5. I think there were some unique things that were done. Although I don't like the front of it and the way things move about. Cool idea. I love how the rear is attached. I think that was fantastic. Really cool idea. And just little bits and bobs as you go through it. You're kind of like, yeah, that's kind of neat. I could apply that somewhere else. Minifigs, I would say maybe 7.5. Ursula, yes. I think Ursula is done perfect. The other mermaids, they're fine. Triton, the whole face thing, it just throws me off in the worst way. And I know Disney probably came back and was like, no, we need something different. And the design team went and they created this new weird hair face piece, which is just grossly disgusting weird. I think probably one of the biggest problems is it doesn't have enough depth. His beard is too shallow to the faux face. It just doesn't quite fit very well. So as a whole, I would give this probably a 7.8. There are nice things here. I could probably even say, 7.9798, something like that. I could probably get close to 8. I don't think it's an 8. I think with the value of it, okay, it's not horrible. It is a lot of pieces. It is a lot of money. Everything's a lot of money these days. For what I feel it lacks, it could be less. Absolutely. What I feel you do get, though, if you're somebody that is a Little Mermaid fan, a Disney fan, you're like, I have to have this. Yeah, I could see 160. I could absolutely see 160 being suffice enough to, throw some pennies, some quid at it and that kind of stuff, without a doubt. So throw some yen at it. I miss living in Japan. I had so much fun playing the yen market. It's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. Anybody that's been in the military overseas knows that there's a money game that you can play with currency exchange rates. It's like the stock market, but not as volatile. And when you're 20 years old, 19 years old, you're like, let's do this. Anyway, so I'm going to leave it at just under an 8. We'll leave it at 7.98 is where I'm going to leave it. But it's not bad. It's really not bad at all. And I think with some modifications, you could do some incredible things. And that is where I'm going to push to this next part real quick. And then we're going to jump out of here. When I was in Chicago in June, and I had an opportunity to talk to Dave from Brick and Nerd. Y'all already heard that interview, and Dave is a great guy. You can see the link posted down in the description if you are curious and you want to go check this out. One of their contributors to the website had this set, and they did modding to it. And this is where I feel Lego is so underutilized by so many people. Me not being a big mock builder at all. Not even. If I were going to rank myself out of 100%, I would put myself at 1.6 as often as I mock. It's just not my thing. I'm not comfortable with it. I get down on myself. And no, you're not supposed to. You're supposed to have fun with it. However, with that in mind, many people have done mods in the past. TK Bricks, Tim has done mocks before, mods, taken Star Wars sets and recolored them, basically. Jurassic Park, and he did pink. I don't even know what that thing was in the past. And what Dave did, one of their contributors, is they took this and they applied a whole bunch of different themes and ideas to this basic shell. And it was incredible. So you need to check out the link down below and go see the work that their contributor did. She did an incredible job. He showed it to me at Brickworld, and because we had a long discussion off air. I mean, I think his episode was like 40 minutes, 40 minutes. And we probably talked another 25 minutes off the air, believe it or not. Some stuff, you don't want on air. Some stuff you just chit chatting, shooting the breeze and stuff like that. And it was just one of those things that came up, and we chatted a good long while about it. And modding is definitely a thing. If you're somebody that is not completely comfortable with doing your own, starting from scratch, and that's the problem I have. The jumping off point. How do I jump off? I don't know. I know how to jump, but I don't know in what direction, because then I'm like, well, I want to do this. Well, I don't have parts for this. I want to do this. I want to try that. And I'm not going to go buy all these parts when I don't really have a true, honest vision. And I know you mock builders at home are screaming. You're like, just do it. I know Kate is. But my point behind it is saying this. There's always a point to start something somewhere. Sometimes you have the ability. Sometimes you may feel not. You may feel like you have nothing as far as the ability goes. But there's a framework here. There's scaffolding, as we call in teaching. There's a scaffolding that's been set. You have this set right here, or any other set. You buy a $10, $15, $20 Lego set, city set, and you can adjust things. A little here, a little there. And you get some ideas running in your head, right? And you expand upon it, and you expand upon that. And then you take those ideas and you create something different in a set that's bigger, like this. And then from there, who knows? The sky is the limit, honestly, because there's a bajillion ways that you can put Lego together. I think bajillion doesn't even reach the number of ways that you can put Lego pieces together. At this point, I'm pretty sure it's infinite. However, so check out that article, and maybe it'll give you a jump forward into your idea of, here's what I would like to do. I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to take it and I'm going to try this and, just do a mod and see what happens next. So that's going to wrap it up. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I am finally happy not to have a fever and be able to be here with you. We are working on Ninjago City Markets, I think is what it is. The new Batman, the big giant underground Bruce Wayne manor, under cave thing, whatever you want to call it, shadow box. That's in the process as well. And the A-frame cabin. And we do have some other things that are coming. I did finally, thank you, Lego. I love you. But we're about 3 weeks late. I was sent the Lego Friends Advent calendar. And about a week ago, I was like, it still has not gotten here. The embargo was like a month ago. I'm like, I didn't get this. DHL, like, did it get lost? Did it never get shipped? It never got shipped. And I think his name is Honey. Honey, thank you for expediting that as it arrived yesterday. So we'll have that as well. And there's so many cute little animals in there, which is a thing of mine. Anyway, so until we meet again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it.